Hey everyone, it's Nicole. I'm here today with Queen & Company using their August fruit basket kit. It's a really fun kit. It's kind of fruit themed, but there's a lot of different options that you can use within this kit. And so that's what I'm going to do today on this page. I'm going to use some of the dies here, as you can see, to create a fun background. This isn't actually a strawberry shape that's in the kit. You can see all the different shapes there on the top of the screen. There's a watermelon, there's a lemon slice, and there's like an orange kind of slice as well. And so I've chosen that strawberry shape. It really looks like a heart, so at first I thought I might do something with a bit of a heart background, but then as I looked at it more and more, I really started to feel like those look like flower petals. So I decided to take several different of the B-sides of the patterns from the pattern paper pad in the kit, and I just die cut, as you can see, several of those shapes, and now I'm just playing around with where I want to put them on my layout. So I ended up starting off with just the inside of that die shape, but I ended up using both the outer ring as well as the inner filled in shape, just changing the color slightly. So I started off putting down the outline shape for my flower petals, and I'm just using the light pink pattern paper that's in the 6x6 paper pad. And so I'm just adding these here to make like a bit of a 4-leaf flower, and then I'm going to fill in the inside, as you'll see in just a second, with that brighter pink that's in the kit as well. So there's lots of fun different patterns. There's some that are fruit themed, but on the B sides of them are these really fun coordinating papers in all different colors. So I'm just going to play around a little bit here, deciding do I want to use the ring for all my flowers or just the inner part of the petal, and then playing around with a bit of the color. So I end up only using 3 of the colors that I intended. So I have the lighter pink, the darker pink, and then the yellow. There's a bit of yellow in my daughter's dress, so I wanted to make sure to bring some of the yellow from the paper pad in. And I'm just really trying to determine where exactly I want to put those flowers and alternating the color. There's also a bit of a reddish color that I'm going to use here. And I don't want to have too much of the same color and in one area, and I'm also using some of just the inner petals. So I'm having a bit of a slightly smaller flower and a couple of the larger ones. So most of my process here is just really determining where I'm going to put those flowers, which colors I'm going to use, and then once I kind of get the first 2 down, you can see the rest of it kind of goes fairly quickly. I'm just going to add a couple of the petals here to make 2 half flowers to give the illusion that there's some additional flowers there. And then I end up going back and adding in some of those rings again around one of the flowers here, just to get a little bit more of that color in and around versus the symbol flowers with just the inside petal. So I'm going to trim off my excess here. It's a really great way to use just a little bit of paper in a big way. So there's kind of my floral pattern, and here's where I decide to go back in with the yellow and add a little bit more yellow. I just lifted up one of the petals here, and I'm just going to add the little yellow rings to each of the pinks here. And repeat the same thing on this bottom part that I have the little bit of the pink going on, and then again I'm just going to trim all that off really quickly. So you can see how easy everything in the kit coordinates together. So the different colors all really work really well, and the size proportion of the pattern is really great as well. So I got my sewing machine now, and I just want to add a little bit more I guess texture to those flowers. So I'm just going to take, it's hard to see on the video, but I'm just going to go and do a really fast circle stitch on my sewing machine around the inside of those flowers. I'll show a close-up at the end of the video so you can see better. And that just kind of makes a bit of an inside swirly pattern to give some dimension. And then I also die cut some leaves. There's a little bit of a leaf pattern there in the die set, and so I've done that with the green paper and the paper pad, and I'm just layering a couple of those flower petals together and tucking them in amongst those little flowers that I've created for the background of the page. That also adds a little bit of extra color too, so everything's not just quite so pink. That green kind of calms down the yellow a little bit and works really nice with the pink color. And I'm just trying to balance out where exactly I want to have all the little bits of green, and do I want to have 2 petals or just 1? So I'm just kind of fiddling with that, as you can see a little bit, and tucking them in under those petals. When I did the circle stitching in the center of the flower, I didn't go quite all the way out, so I was able to quite easily lift up some of the petals where the adhesive wasn't really stuck all the way down, and then, as you can see, just tucks those leaves in and around. So very pretty simple. You can see the different shapes there up at the top of the screen of the dies. So if you imagine if you changed the shape of the die into some one of the different patterns. You can create different backgrounds using those. Doesn't necessarily have to be this one here, but I think this one really looks like flower petals, so I kind of like how the flowers turned out on this one. I am going to add a little bit more stitching to my page once I get all these leaves kind of in place. I'm just going to go and add a little bit of detailed stitching just at the center to almost make like veins on the leaves. And now I'm just going to do that off camera. I'm also going to add a little bit of green mist droplets here just to add a little bit more color to the white background. And then I'm going to add my photo. And then I wanted to play around a little bit with some of the scraps of paper that I had, and I thought about doing a bit of a staggered border on the one side, but it was a little too busy, so instead I chose the stripe pattern from the paper pad, and you can see that really draws all those little bits of color from the flowers on the left hand side of the page to the other edge. So I kind of like how that turned out. And then I decided to use some of the sentiment stamps in the kit, and when I stamped initially, I stamped right onto the white background, and it was a little too plain and it smudged, so I decided I would just do it again, and this time on a bit of a coordinating yellow piece of cardstock from my scraps. And then I added a little bit more stamping here with a different sub-sentiment from the same stamp set from the kit, and added it underneath my little daughter's picture there. I thought about doing some of the twine like a vine throughout the flowers, but it didn't look quite right. So instead I decided to take some of the teardrop embellishments in the kit and use them to make centers for the flowers. And I really like the fact that you get kind of the black and the silver in this kit, so you can decide depending on what colors you chose from the paper pad how to use that. And I chose the silver teardrops for the centers of mine, and then at first I had them all pointed the same direction, and then I ended up turning two of them on a different angle, and I added a few more of the enamel dots from the kit as well, just in and amongst my title there. And then I decided I kind of need a little bit more black because it's a little bit too bright with all the whites, so I grabbed some letter stickers here from my stash, and I'm just going to add a really simple title along the right edge here of my photo. And I'm going to use one of the enamel dots, or two of the enamel dots in this kit, just to add a little period at the end of my very, very simple sentence, as you'll see in a second. So I take the larger red dot, and then I just added the smaller yellow enamel dot right over top. And now I'm just going to take a bit of a tracing ruler from my sewing kit and roll it on my ink pad just to add a bit of tiny, tiny fake stitching. So you can see the sentiment stamps here, and here's how those flowers turned out. Really, really easy, and I think I would do this again with the dies with a different shape and just see how that turns out. A lot of different possibilities. I hope you'll see outside the fruit basket when you take a look at the August kit from Queen & Company. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.